I'm Vinny Politan. Great to have you with us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And it's Valentine's Day, and I hope you and yours had a great Valentine's Day celebration whenever you did it. Maybe you did it over the weekend, maybe earlier tonight. Maybe you're going to do maybe later tonight after the show. I know you're watching now. But the bottom line is, happy Valentine's Day. Now, when you think of Valentine's Day, you think of spending time with the one that you love. Right? It's a time where you kind of, all right, let's take some time for us. You know, just you and I, and we can celebrate the way we feel about each other, how much we love each other, what we want to do with our lives, what we've done in the past, what we want to do in the future, and enjoy the moment itself. And for everyone, you know, Valentine's Day, sometimes it might be a little bit of a disappointment, might not be the best one. It's a Monday night, you know, maybe you have to work, whatever, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because I'm going to tell you a story tonight about a woman who on Valentine's Day had to talk about the last date she ever had with the love of her life. The last date she had with the man she loved. The last date with the man that she was building a family with and wanted to spend the rest of her days with. I'm talking about Nicole Oulson. She is the widow of Chad Oulson. And it was finally today, after 8 years of waiting, today, Valentine's Day, when she had an opportunity to get inside of a criminal courtroom and tell her story finally to a jury. And I can't believe it's happening on Valentine's Day, because you think about the night that Chad was shot and killed by Curtis Reeves. They were out on a date night. They were young parents. They had a young child at home, and anyone and everyone who's been in that situation, you understand how Valentine's Day gets different, and any date gets different once you have kids, because they're few and far between. You try to find those moments, steal that time together. And that's what they were doing, going to the movies. And that's where his life ended. And today, again, on Valentine's Day, she has to tell that story to the jury. Take a listen.
Do you recall any type of statement by your husband about texting?
Yes, I do.
All right. In relation to the statements that we have, see your phone away, when did that take place?
After he returned from getting management, and he stated, "I see you put your phone away now," that I went to get management. Chad again said, "What is your problem?" And he did state that he was checking on a message about his daughter.
As you are standing up and your arm starts to move over, do you feel a sensation in your hand?
Yes.
Describe that sensation.
It felt like my hand was on fire. Just fire. It felt like my hand was blown off.
At the time, contemporaneous, same time that you felt that sensation in your hand, did you hear a loud noise?
I did, yes.
Are you familiar with the sound of a firearm? Not on TV and all that stuff, but I mean in real life.
Yes, limited, but yes.
All right. Once you heard the loud sound and you felt the burning sensation in your hand, do you continue to stand?
Yes.
Once you have finished the process of standing, what is your next observation?
Chad, he takes a couple steps and he collapses.
Are you concerned about your hand or your husband?
Oh, my husband. I knew he was way worse than me.
Prior to the time that your hand had that burning sensation, were you aware that a bag of popcorn had been retrieved from behind you and tossed back into that area?
I was not aware, no.
And based on those observations and seeing where he was seated, Did you have reason to believe that that was the man that was continually talking to Mr. Oulson and yourself?
And the color of his shirt, yes.
Now, if you see that man in the courtroom today, I'm going to ask you to point him out and describe what he's wearing for the court.
Yes. I was going to say the middle, but there's two gentlemen in the middle of this table here. It is the gentleman second to my right. He's wearing looks to be a grayish colored coat with a white shirt and a swirly tie, glasses, grayish hair at this table.
Your Honor, the record reflect she's identified the defendant in this case, Curtis Reeves.
That's her Valentine's Day. Unbelievable. I want to bring in Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae joining us live tonight from outside the courthouse in Pasco County, Florida. Julia, great to see you tonight. Thank you. I saw amazing composure there. This is 8 years later. She's been waiting for this moment. I know I've spoken to her in the past, but there were emotional moments today as well, weren't there?
There were emotional moments. It hung thick inside of that courtroom as people in the gallery were watching Nicole Oulson recount the love of her life, the man that she was married to for 7 years. And she described the moments that she was trying to get her husband help, the phone calls she was making, and how she had to keep herself in a certain way, hoping that he wouldn't notice what was happening to her. Take a listen.
But I know from prior experiences that if he saw me panicking, he would be more worried about me. And I didn't want that, so I could hold it together enough to get back to him in front of him where I could look over the aisle at him on the ground. And I see his eyes were just glazed over, and I knew at that moment. But I tell him, Chad, and Maxine, need you please hang in there. We need you. And then I started to lose it, so I walked back away from the scene, not the scene, but from where I could see him. And I went back to the gentleman that had been helping me.
Other people were helping your husband?
Yes, they were doing CPR work, assisting.
Overall, really the word you would describe her testimony with is composed, because she kept that throughout the majority of her testimony. She was clear and concise for this jury, and she served a triple purpose for the state. Not only was she someone bringing her husband to life, being that almost spark of life witness, talking about who he was, that date night that they were having, their 22-month-old daughter, but also she's someone who was an eyewitness to whatever happened, and she almost sounded like a CSI or professional kind of witness, the way she detailed everything that happened, where people were, and what she remembered. She didn't fold on cross-examination, and she also has the purpose of being a victim herself, describing her own injuries to this jury.
Yeah, I think focus is the best word, because that's what, when a system of justice is cruel to you and drags you through this for 8 years, you're going to be extremely focused when you get on that witness stand. Let me ask you about her injuries, though. This was a part that wasn't that evident to me before this trial started, that she got hurt as well.
There was a picture that was shown to this jury that was pretty shocking. I hadn't seen it before. It was of her hand that day after she was actually shot, her hand on her husband's chest, and that bullet going through her finger and through his chest. She said that it was actually dangling off, that they had to use a chunk of bone from her wrist to reconstruct that finger. And the moment where she walked down from the witness stand to show these jurors her hand slowly going back and forth, she said this is an issue she still lives with today. She can't make a full grip on that hand. One is shorter than the other because of this injury and the surgery that happened afterward. Just really a moment inside of that courtroom where these jurors were seeing up close some of the damage, but we know much more that they are going to hear about the death of Chad Oulson in the future.
Yeah, but to me that's significant, though, that every day that she wakes up and every day she looks at her hand is a reminder of what happened that day. Now, I understand you all down there, Court TV, caught up with her and her attorney after she testified.
Right after she testified and left the courthouse, she was with her attorney, civil attorney, TJ Grimaldi, and he did say that she had spoken enough for the day, so he was speaking on her behalf. Take a listen to what he had to say about her testimony.
Well, you know, there's a lot of things. The first thing is seeing the video, actually, because at the end of the day, I think it's my position, and I think it's the state's position as well, at least to a point, that the video makes the case. The video shows what happens. Memories fade, memories have, time causes memories to change slightly. And she has always said the same thing, always testified the same way, and always said the same exact thing, that Chad did nothing wrong. Chad tried to ignore this person, and this person just kept at him, kept over and over until he was doing what he was told to do. Because this is a cop, or an ex-cop, and a retired cop, still acting like a cop, and when it didn't respond the way he did, that's why he lost control.
Now, that testimony is done, so now we will move to those other eyewitnesses who are going to be taking the stand for the state, Vinny.
All right, Julie Janae with us. She's staying with us down in Pasco County, Florida. Let's bring in our think tank tonight. Joining us close by to Pasco County in Tampa, Florida, criminal defense attorney Teresa Jean-Pierre Coy, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, family law attorney Jennifer Brandt, and in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Al Wunsch III. Great to see everyone tonight. Teresa, you're very close to that courthouse. I know you've been in that courthouse tons and tons of times. Your thoughts about Nicole Oulson on this Valentine's Day, taking the stand and talking about her last date with her husband?
I mean, I think it was very powerful. I mean, especially it being Valentine's Day. I think anybody can, you know, relate to her testimony. I mean, if it were to happen to them, but I think her testimony was powerful. She's an eyewitness. She was there with him. She herself was also injured. I just think that, you know, she provided, her being one of the first witnesses for the state was very powerful, and also showing the life that, you know, the victim had and his, you know, just everything he had going for him. So I definitely think it was powerful testimony. She did a great job holding her composure all throughout. I don't know if I would be able to do so. I mean, but she's had to live with this for 8 years. I mean, this is a case in this area, the Tampa Bay area, that we all have been following for a very long time. So I'm just very glad that, you know, the trial has started, and hopefully, you know, some justice will come out of it.
Jennifer Brandt, how about the strength and composure that she displayed? And to me, it's the focus. 8 years of simmering, but 8 years of having to be strong because you're raising a child who 22 months at the time that her dad is gunned down inside a movie theater. To me, that's where the strength comes from.
Yeah, I mean, I think she was an excellent witness. I think she was very relatable. I think people can really see what happened, understand what happened. These two were out on a date. They had this young child. They were texting about the child. Anybody who has been in that situation can totally understand. And I think she brought it home. She made it very real. She humanized Chad, and she really held it together. I mean, sometimes you worry about a witness getting on the stand and just falling apart, especially when it's so emotional for her. But she did an excellent job of remaining composed. She was emotional enough that you could really feel her pain, but she didn't break down. She didn't, you know, she was clear and concise, and everyone could understand. And she really set the stage of what happened and made it real for everybody in that courtroom and us at home too.
Absolutely. Al, to me, it's important because this is a case, you know, alleging self-defense, and they're going to allege that Chad Oulson is this bad guy. He's out to attack him. He's going to cause great bodily harm, all of that. And the picture the jury gets today is what they were doing. They were taking a break just for a few moments away from their young child so they could be out on a date. The last thing in the world that they wanted to do was get into some confrontation with some grumpy old man. He's the one who's the serial, you know, confronting people in movie theaters all around the state of Florida. I mean, it's insane. To me, they got a clear picture today. How important is that?
Very important. But first off, happy Valentine's Day, America. Second of all, the thing that she brought to this trial is a person who was in the zone of danger. Here she was shot. Okay, here she was wounded in this. So it gave her a perspective that's different from a lot of eyewitnesses that you would ordinarily call or something along those lines. She not only was there to watch her husband bleed, she bled herself. And I think that that's an important factor. And putting her on at this juncture of the trial really does humanize the entire process. I thought that the defense, they did a very long opening. And in it, they really did try to dehumanize not only.
Well, we're going to get to that in a second, Al. You're always jumping ahead on us.
I'm sorry
here.
about that.
We've got plenty of time tonight. We've got plenty of time, Al.
I just want to make sure.
Okay. All right.
Representing here on the East.
Exactly. All right, Teresa, with some of this time that we do have, let me ask you about this testimony and contrast it with what we may see from the Reeves, right? The Reeves are out on a date as well, right? They're out there on a date, but how does the jury kind of handle this? Because someone has to be the aggressor. It's somebody's fault, right? It's somebody's fault that there was a fight and someone got shot. And to me, that's what the most important issue for a jury to figure out during self-defense. Does the prosecution have to paint this guy as not necessarily being out there on a date with his wife? He's out there more sort of on the hunt to confront people?
I don't think they go that far in there because I think you could lose the jury with that. But I do think, they were also out on a date. But at the end of the day, you're complaining about somebody who's texting during previews. The movie hasn't even started yet. It's like, what are you doing? And, there's this, sometimes I see with, I was the defense attorney on the Draker trial, so sometimes you see some people who, because they're former law enforcement, have this certain air about them, like this, I'm former law enforcement, so you need to do what I say and whatever. And I think that's what led to this escalating to the point that it never had to escalate to. It just never had to get there. So I don't think the state needs to go hard in on him. He was also enjoying the date, but they do need to bring out the fact that, he essentially was the one who started and picked this fight and began this altercation.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to go exactly where Al Wunsch wants to go, talking about what the defense did during their open today. And they are saying that Chad Oulson was on the attack and there were 2 separate attacks. First time I heard that. We'll break it down when we come back.